Hi, I'm Lucy Mills, founder of Your Ideal Fit, a service providing premium in-home and online Pilates-based fitness training. I'm about to take you through a short nighttime stretch routine, which would be great to do at the end of a long day just to de-stress the body and relax you a little bit before sleep. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you enjoy. All right, we are standing feet hip distance, a wide hip distance so you feel grounded to the floor, wide shoulders, long spine. Let's just get a little mobility through into the head and neck. Dip one ear to the shoulder. Reach the opposite hand away, flexing that hand. And we just move through the wrist joint a few times. Before you restack the head, lift up and over to the other side, flexing and reaching away with that opposite hand, and just work through that wrist joint a few times. And then restack, nodding the chin to the chest, focusing on the length running up the back of the neck and taking the eye line forward. Lift up and over, trying not to crank into the back of the neck. We're just going to do one more of these. And back. And now a gentle look side to side. One more each side. And then let's just take some gentle head rolls, allowing the shoulders to come with you a little bit. 3 to 4 in one direction. And then around. Other direction. Working through all the different movements we just did with the head and neck. And just returning the eye line forward. Just lift the shoulders up and lower them down a little bit further than the position they started in. Inhale as you lift. Exhale as you lower. And one more here. 4 big shoulder rolls up and around and back. Painting big circles with the tips, the side tips of the shoulder blades. And then reverse it. They come from round the back, over and down. Just breathing in and out. And then let's just take those hands behind the head. We're going to lengthen the spine, side bend over. And restack, lengthen the spine, side bend over and restack, trying to keep your lower half nice and still so you don't want to push the weight in the opposite direction. And now we're going to add a little reach down with that bottom arm, so up and over and reach, and just let the weight of that arm sink you a little deeper into that side bend stretch. Return the hand behind the head and lift up and over and reach, almost like you're holding a big dumbbell in that hand. It's just pulling you down a little bit more. Hand behind the back of the head, and one more each side. And reach. And up. And last one, lengthen up and over. And reach. All right, into a little rotation. Reach those arms forward, like you're pulling a bow and arrow. Twist and reach. And you're just going to look to that back elbow. Exhale as you twist, inhale as you return. Let's add a full arm reach extension. And as you do so, feel like you're reaching the opposite arm a little further forward, lengthening through that spine. All right, taking those arms out to the side. This is a progression of those shoulder rolls. You're going to stand with the feet a little bit wider and just have small circles to begin with. And you're going to take about 8 of these, increasing the size each time until you get to big circles, feeling that slight stretch through the front of the chest before we reverse. Small circles to begin with, and they get larger until we get to the last few, and they're as big as they can be, opening up through the front of the shoulders and the chest. Nice, last one here. All right, we're just going to stand again, feet shoulder width apart, slightly bending the knees. I'm just going to do this from the side. You're just going to rest the hands onto the thighs. We're going to do a standing cat to cow. So we exhale, flex the spine, rounding the spine off. Inhale, lengthen through neutral to extension. Exhale to flex. Inhale to lengthen. So in the extension phase, you're thinking about lifting the sit bones up, lifting the chest without cranking into the back of the neck and hunching the shoulders. Let's go for another 3. And lengthen. And 2. Lifting and supporting through the abdominals, especially in the extension. Returning to neutral and roll yourself up. A couple of wrist rolls in one direction and then the other direction. And then you're just going to carry one arm all the way across the body, hook under at the wrist, and just draw that arm in as you look over that shoulder, dropping the shoulder down so it's away from the chin. Big breath in, open the arms, lift the eye line, extend the upper mid back, and we carry the opposite arm over. And then taking that long arm down and around, just behind the head, slightly soften the knees, just grab hold of that elbow. And we're going to go into another side bend again, but this should also get a little stretch down the back of the arm. Restack and switch and over. Hips level, knees slightly soft. And then we restack, and we're just going to interlink the fingers. I'll turn around for a second. You're going to reach the arms down, back, and slightly up away from you. As you do so, a slight tuck of the tail and a lift of the chest and the eye line. Once again, no cranking into the back of the neck. Good. All right, a little further progression of that upper body extension. You can do this standing or seated. We're just going to reach those arms up toward the ceiling. Almost imagine you're at the bottom of a really deep swimming pool. And as you inhale, you're pulling yourself up to the surface of the swimming pool, lifting that chest, lifting that eye line. And then as you exhale, reach those arms up, just returning the chest and the eye line forward for 4. Inhale, exhale, and 3. And what's good about doing this one seated as opposed to standing is we have a little bit more control over the lower spine and the pelvis placement. Last 2. And last one. Nice. As we're seated, let's come into a little hip opener, a little glute stretch. One leg just crosses over. You want the ankle to cross over that thigh and the knee just to let the natural weight of the leg just open it out. Hands resting on that front leg, and we just tip the body forward. Now don't think about nose to shin. Think about lengthening from the top of the body and then almost folding in half. Holding an apple between the chin and the chest so we don't tense into the back of the neck. Wide shoulders. A good 4 to 5 breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And use the exhale just to relax your body into that stretch a little bit more. As we're here, just cross that leg over so the top leg, the foot, is just hovering off the floor. And you're just going to give me 5 to 8 ankle rolls in each direction. And then reverse it 5 to 8 in the opposite direction. All right, let's switch to the other side. Let's go for that glute stretch, that little hip opener. Ankle over thigh, hands resting on the legs, and just lean that body over, focusing on the length, almost like I've got a few strands of hair and I'm pulling them in this diagonal direction. 4 to 5 breaths. And then just crossing that leg over so the top foot is hovering. 5 to 8 ankle rolls in each direction. And then we reverse in the other direction. All right, let's come into a little hamstring stretch. So you can have your feet hip distance apart, maybe one foot slightly closer in toward the base of the chair. And then send the other leg long, flexing the foot. Now we're either going to rest the hands on the supporting leg thigh or reach them down to the floor. What we want to avoid is pressing onto that long leg. You don't want to force the knee into hyperextension. Adjust where the foot is so you feel balanced and lean that body forward. Similar to that glute stretch, we're focusing on the length of the body, not how close the nose is getting to that knee. Long neck, make sure we're not looking forward. 4 to 5 breaths. And then we switch. Beginning with the hand on the thigh if you feel a little bit more supported there. Making sure the hips are level. One shoulder shouldn't be leading the way. So we're working into the stretch of that hamstring. And if you feel you want a deeper stretch than this seated version, we're going to try it standing. So we just come up, and if you have got that chair nearby, you just put that heel, maybe the base of the calf, onto the chair itself, and then just hinge the body forward in exactly the same way. You can rest the hands, whatever feels right for you to get that support. lengthening through the spine. Just be mindful that the hips don't start to open. You want to keep yourself as square as possible. Both legs also parallel, knees and toes facing forward or up in the case of this leg. And we switch. Legs parallel, everything square on, shoulders evenly float forward. Be mindful that this hip doesn't thrust forward. 4 to 5 breaths. And then standing up, let's come into a standing quad stretch. So you're going to grab hold of one foot, a little bit of support from that chair with the other hand. Now you really want to feel that this leg that you're stretching, that the knee is being drawn back behind the standing leg, not very far. And just to deepen the stretch, slightly bend that standing leg and tuck the tail under. So you're really opening up through the hip flexor as well as the quad. 4 to 5 breaths. And then into, before we switch to the other side, a little calf stretch. Front leg bent, back leg straight. Driving the weight of the body forward. Now keep that back heel on the floor and just bend and stretch that back leg just a little bit. Working into the Achilles. Back heel stays down. 4 to 5 of these. And then you stand back up. And we're going to just turn around to the other side. In this case, I'll just walk around so you can still see me. We're going to come into that quad stretch. Driving that thigh back, tucking that tail. Slightly bend your standing leg to facilitate that tail tucking under. Long body. All right, into our calf stretch. Feet are hip distance, front leg is bent, back leg is straight. Drive the weight forward, and then a gentle bend and stretch of that back leg. Just taking that stretch from the calf down into the Achilles. 4 to 5. And then come up to standing. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this chair, and we're going to come down onto the mat. So we've thought about the spine, side to side and rotation. And now we're just going to think about the spine in terms of articulation. So a little movement, just working up and down the spine. So hip rolls, you're going to peel your body up and roll your body down. You almost want to imagine a wave just running through your spine and feeling that reach and length at the top before you roll it all the way back down. 2 more here. Continuing with that breath. Last one here. Good. And we're just going to hug one knee into the chest. Hug behind the knee, so you're not forcing the knee into flexion. And just lengthen the other leg away if possible. And just let that thigh just start to rock and roll and circle around in that hip joint. We're going to do 4 to 5 in one direction. And then 4 to 5 in the other direction. Before we switch over, hold behind the knee. And we just do 4 to 5 in one direction. Before we reverse around. All right, you're just going to bend those legs for me and set the feet a good shoulder width apart and bring them a little closer into the seat, allowing the heels to lift. Set your arms a bit wider than the mat for that extra base of support. And you're going to let your knees float over to one direction as the head goes in the opposite direction, allowing that little rotation through the spine. Inhale to hold, exhale to lift the knees up and over, opposite direction with the legs, and subsequently the head. One more each direction. Good. All right, let's come back to the center. We're actually going to lay on the side for the next one. We're going to continue the theme of rotation through the spine. You're going to bend the legs, your feet are in line with the seat. And you're just going to lie down on that bottom arm. Slightly bent, so you're giving yourself that little support, and you're just going to reach that arm forward, and we just circle it round overhead, opening it out grazing it on top of that top leg before it returns and completes that circle. Allowing the weight of the head to go into the bottom hand and arm. Feeling like the bottom rib is just opening away from the hip. Let's do 4 in one direction and then reverse it round and over. Exhale as you hit the rotation. Inhale as you return yourself back to the start position. And last one. And good, well done. All right, you're just going to let that knee drop to the floor and stretch that bottom leg. And then if you can, and you're able to, you're just going to lengthen that leg forward as well. And you're just going to then come into that rotation we just found with the body, trying not to let the arm hang out of that shoulder. Really feel like it's just continuing the line created by the back of the shoulders. And then we come all the way up and over, just bending in. And you're going to keep that knee bend. Just going to add a little lift up and over into a side bend. And then another one in the opposite direction. You won't have quite as much movement here. And then all the way up. Let's go for the other side. So swinging the legs around or just flipping around to the other side. We bend the legs. Lying down, bottom arm bent. Just reach that arm forward. Let's go for circles. Exhale and inhale. Exhale and inhale, opening that bottom rib away from that top hip. Last one. All right, let's reverse direction. Exhale and inhale. Last two. Last one. All right, just resting the hand for a little bit of support. Let that top leg rest on the floor. Bottom leg is going to lengthen away. And then if you can, you lengthen that top leg away as well. We're just going to open out into that rotation. Again, being mindful that the arm is just continuing the line of the shoulders. Couple of breaths. And then bring everything back to your start position. Knees bent, feet in line with the tail. Big lift up and over into a side bend. Head dropping to the floor, ribs lifting up toward the ceiling. Down we come, and a gentle side bend, smaller one in the opposite direction. All right, working just a little stretch into the inner thighs. We're going to open the legs into our second position. Now, for some of you, even this position is going to feel like a really deep stretch. And for some of you, you may not even be able to sit on top of the sit bones, which is completely fine. If that's the case, all I want you to do is perhaps do this against a wall. So the wall is just placing and holding the feet there for you. And then you can have the hands behind the body and just slightly press into the floor and use the arms as a little help and support to lengthen the spine, aiming to sit on top of those sit bones. And you may find that that's enough for now. And if that is, you just hold it, you keep lengthening and you breathe. If you are able to sit upright on the sit bones in this position, we just rest the forearms down onto the floor. And as we did earlier with our glute and our hamstring stretch, avoiding the feeling of getting the nose to the floor, you feel like you're lengthening your spine, trying to create a long straight line from head to tail. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Thinking about the knees and the toes always facing up to the ceiling. Once you've done 4 to 5 breaths, we walk it back in. Now, if you need to modify, one leg can bend in. Otherwise, we keep them there. And we just rotate. Now, this is a version of our saw. You nod the chin to the chest. Now you do round the spine. And all we're doing is trying to combine flexion of the spine and rotation. So you should get a little stretch through that opposite side, the back chain of the body, relaxing the head. rolling it up, rotating through center to the other side, trying to get that chest and nose facing the foot. Nod the chin to the chest, flex over. Coming onto the front, into our Swan Dive. Legs hip distance, turned out. Hands just resting at the side of the mat. Opening the shoulders, lengthening through the tip of the head like you're rolling a marble away. Lift up into full spinal extension. You can apply a small pressure through the arms and then lengthen even further away as you lower down. Open the shoulders, roll a marble away, lift. Now, we're not aiming to fully extend the arms. What we're aiming for is to have an even curve from the tail to the head. So even if you get to here, that's perfectly fine. Lengthen it down. Last one. Feel the lift from the abdominals, that support, that tuck of the tail. Your hip bones may leave the floor. Last one, lengthen it down. And let's come into a shell stretch. Press yourself up and over, really flexing the spine. Slowly rolling it up, getting ready to stand up, ready for our full roll down. Big breath in. Exhale, nod the chin to the chest, roll it down, heavy arms, heavy head. And just bend the knees at the bottom. Just have a few shoulder rolls, both directions. And sway the body like a pendulum. Return it to the center and one vertebra at a time. Draw the tail between the legs, roll up through the spine, widening the shoulders, lengthening a little bit taller at the top. I hope you feel a little more relaxed and a little less stressed after your full day. Like and subscribe below if you enjoyed this session. If you are doing this just before you go to bed, I'm wishing you a restful night's sleep. Thank you for joining me.